Hare Krishna. And Prabhuji, I still want 2 minutes, so let me join in 2 minutes. Shashwin, you can start with the Manglacharan. Give me 1 more minute, please. You can start.
Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Taksharunnilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadavayam Dadanti Swapadantikam Vandeham Gurun Vaishnavamsya Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Satairam Swavaduram Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Krishna Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Krishna Siddho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopi Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Saurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanushrute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vachakalpatarubhyasya Kipasindhayeva Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha
Shri Krishna
Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda
Advaita Gadadhar Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Shashwin. Thank you very much for the lovely Manglacharan. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept our humble obeisances. Dandavat pranam from everybody who have joined this group and are about to join Prabhuji. Prabhuji, we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 1, Chapter 7. And the Chapter 7 is called The Son of Drona Punished. And the text for today is text 5, Prabhuji. I hand over to you.
Narayan Namaskrityam Naranchil Narottamam Devim Sashyatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiriyeta Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavate Yutam Shloke Bhakti Rautina Ishtiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Pranams to everyone, all the devotees. So the verse for today is Yaya Samamohito Jiva Atmanam Tri Gunatmakam Paropi Manute Narsam Satkartam Chapi Padyate. Translation. Due to this external energy, the living entity, although transcendental to the three modes of material nature, thinks of himself as a material product and thus undergoes the reactions of material miseries. Now, for your information, this verse is quoted many, many times if you're accustomed to hear Srila Prabhupada. Okay, Mother, you can read the purport. It's a long purport.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. I'd request other devotees to read the purport as well. I can start, and then Shailaja or Shobha Mataji, Madrupa Mataji, either can you please read the purport with me, please?
Yes, Mataji, I can read from here.
Okay, so I can start and I'll stop and then you continue. And then if you are tired, then I can start again. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Yeah.
The root cause of suffering by materialistic living beings is pointed out with remedial measures which are to be undertaken and also the ultimate perfection to be gained. All this is mentioned in this particular verse. The living being is by constitution transcendental to material engagement, but he is now imprisoned by the external energy, and therefore he thinks himself one of the material products. And due to this unholy contact, the pure spiritual entity suffers material miseries under the mode of material nature. The living entity misunderstands himself to be a material product. This means that the present perverted way of thinking, feeling, and willing under material condition is not natural for him, but he has his normal way of thinking, feeling, and willing. The living being in his original state is not without thinking, willing, feeling power. It is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that the actual knowledge of the conditioned soul is now covered by nonsense. Thus, the theory that a living being is absolute impersonal Brahman is refuted herein. This cannot be because the living entity has his own way of thinking in his original unconditional state also. The present conditional state is due to the influence of the material energy, which means that the illusionary energy takes the initiative while the Supreme Lord is aloof. The Lord does not desire that a living being be illusioned by external energy. The external energy is aware of this fact, but still she accepts a thankless task of keeping the forgotten soul under illusion by her bewildering influence. The Lord does not interfere with the task of the illusionary energy because such performances of the illusionary energy are also necessary for reformation of the conditioned soul. An affectionate father does not like his children to be chastised by another agent, yet he puts his disobedient children under the custody of a severe man just to bring them to order. But the all-affectionate Almighty Father at the same time desires relief from the conditioned soul, relief from the clutches of the illusionary energy. The king puts the disobedient citizens within the walls of the jail, but sometimes the king, desiring the prisoner's relief, personally goes there and pleads for the reformation, and on his doing so, the prisoners are set free. Similarly, the Supreme Lord descends from his kingdom upon the kingdom of illusionary energy and personally gives relief in the form of Bhagavad Gita, wherein he personally suggests that although the way of illusionary energy are very stiff to overcome, one who surrenders onto the lotus feet of the Lord is set free by the order of the Supreme. This surrendering process is remedial measure for getting relief from the bewildering ways of the illusionary energy. The surrendering process is completed by the influence of association. The Lord has suggested, therefore, that by the influence of the speeches of the saintly persons who have actually realized the Supreme, men are engaged in his transcendental loving service. The conditioned soul gets a taste for hearing about the Lord, and by such hearing, only he is gradually elevated to the platform of respect, devotion, and attachment for the Lord. The whole thing is completed by the surrendering process. Herein also, the same suggestion is made by the Lord in his incarnation of Vyasadeva. This means that the conditioned soul are being reclaimed by the Lord both ways, namely by the process of punishment by the external energy of the Lord and by himself as the spiritual master within and without. Within the heart of every living being, the Lord himself as a super soul, Paramatma, becomes the spiritual master, and from without, he becomes the spiritual master in the shape of scriptures, saints, and the initiator spiritual master. This is still more explicitly explained in the next shloka. Hare Mataji, continue.
Hare
Shobha
Krishna.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Personal superintendence of the illusory energy is confirmed in the Vedas, the Kena Upanishad, in relation to the demigod's controlling power. Herein also it is clearly stated that the living entity is controlled by the external energy in a personal capacity. The living being thus subject to the control of external energy is differently situated. It is clear, however, from the present statement of Bhagavatam that the same external energy is situated in the inferior position before the personality of Godhead or the perfect being. The perfect being or the Lord cannot be approached even by the illusory energy, who can only work on the living entity. Therefore, it is sheer imagination that the Supreme Lord is illusioned by the illusory energy and thus becomes a living being. If the living being and the Lord were in the same category, then it would have been quite possible for Vyasadeva to see it, and there would have been no question of material distress on the part of illusion being, for the Supreme Being is fully cognizant. So there are so many unscrupulous imagination on the part of the monist to endeavor to put both the Lord and the living being in the same category. Had the Lord and the living beings been the same, then Srila Sukadeva Goswami would not have taken the trouble to describe the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, for they would all be manifested of illusory energy. Srimad Bhagavatam is the summum bonum remedy for suffering humanity in the clutches of Maya. Srila Vyasadeva therefore first of all diagnosed the actual disease of the conditioned souls, i.e. their being illusioned by the external energy. He also saw the perfect Supreme Being from whom illusory energy is far removed, though he saw both the diseased conditioned souls and also the cause of the disease. And the remedial measures are suggested in the next verse. Both the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living beings are undoubtedly qualitatively one, but the Lord is the controller of the illusory energy, whereas the living entity is controlled by the illusory energy. Thus, the Lord and the living beings are simultaneously one and different. Another point is distinct herein. The external relation between the Lord and the living being is transcendental. Otherwise, the Lord would not have taken the trouble to reclaim the conditioned souls from the clutches of Maya. In the same way, the living entity is also required to revive his natural love and affection for the Lord, and that is the highest perfection of the living entity. Srimad Bhagavatam treats the conditioned souls with aim to that goal of life. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So the verse number 5 is today. Due to this external energy, the living entity, although transcendental to the three modes of material nature, thinks himself as a material product and thus undergoes the reactions of material miseries. So very powerful, and then the purpose. Many points here. First of all, this verse is able to answer three questions. Why do living entities suffer? What remedial measures should be taken? And what is the ultimate perfection of life? That is the subject matter of this verse. So living entity means us. We are by nature transcendental. Krishna is Sachidananda Vigraha. We are also Sachidananda, but in a very tiny form. Now, because we are so tiny, when we come to the material world, we become covered by the illusory energy. And we also consider ourselves to be the product of the material nature, or we consider ourselves to be a material product. And that is why we suffer. And this is a clear misunderstanding. And due to this misunderstanding, material conditional life, our thinking, feeling, willing is not actually natural. We think like that, we feel like that, and we want to do things the way we think is correct. But this is in our conditioned state. But if we understand our constitutional position, then our thinking, feeling, and willing will change. It will not be the same. For example, many of us, if I ask a question that, what was your thinking, feeling, and willing before you started chanting Hare Krishna? It will be different. And what is your thinking, feeling now? It is completely changed. Our vision is changed. So in our conditioned state, our vision is different. In a devotional state, it means when you're acting out of, in our constitutional position, that we are servitors of Krishna. Jivera Sarupaya, Krishna Nityadas. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, living entity is by nature a servitor of Krishna. So once we come to understand we are servitors of Krishna, then our thinking, our feeling, our willing will be directed in another direction. So, Sri Prabhupada is explaining that Bhagavad Gita is also explaining Jiva, how he gets into moha. We all know that famous verse. Devi he sagunamai, mamaya dratya, mameva prapadyante maya hitam tarantite. 7:14, Bhagavad Gita explains this. This divine mind, energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who surrender to me can easily overcome it. So Krishna has already given you the clue how to come out of that illusory energy. So Krishna wants, living entity constitutionally is meant to be Brahman. Brahman means absolute. But because he has come to the material world, and due to have attained this external uniform or the external body, he is changing, his thinking, feeling, willing is completely changed. Just like if someone is holding a gun behind you, you'll act in a different way. And when the gun is removed, you'll act in a different way. This is how Maya acts on you. So Krishna does not want Jiva to be illusion. He wants Jiva to be happy. And we can only be happy when we are in our constitutional position and if we serve Krishna. If you read the subject matter of the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, there's a verse that says, anyone who knows the effects of the three modes of nature can actually live happily even in this world. How? Is by engaging in devotional service. So, Sri Prabhupada gives the example, just like a disobedient or a rebellious father, a father will try to correct him by punishing him. It's not that the father hates him. It's just that he wants to reform him. Just like in Kenya, we have so many prisons. Why the prisons are necessary? Because there will always be criminals. Sri Prabhupada explains in a lecture that always there will be some citizens who will disobey the law. So they will come and stay in the prison. And when they become reformed, they are freed again. So the same principle is applicable to us. Now, when you talk of moha, Bhagavad Gita is the best example to teach us how to come out of moha, using the example of Arjuna. we find in the beginning of the second chapter, Krishna tells Arjuna, Arjuna tells Krishna that now my mind is reeling. I don't know what to do. Please instruct me. Shishyate mam sadhimam prapannam. So because Arjuna took shelter of Krishna, his moha or his illusion was over, completely eradicated. And at the end of Bhagavad Gita, even Krishna asked Arjuna, is your moha still there or you want me to explain again? And Arjuna says, no, I am free from this illusion and I am ready to do whatever you want to do. So if you want to come out of the moha, then we have to do what Arjuna did, is to surrender to Krishna. So in this verse, Sri Prabhupada says, remedial measure is to surrender to Krishna. Everybody knows the verse of surrender? Anybody likes to try? This is a famous verse of Bhagavad Gita. Sarva Dharma, anybody knows? Can speak?
Yes, Lord. Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Braja.
Yeah. So if you surrender to Krishna, then Krishna says, give up all the varieties of religiousness, simply surrender to me. I'll save you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. This is a guarantee given by Krishna. So if you surrender, then everything works well. And many devotees ask that, Prabhuji, what do you mean by surrender? Then if you go to the purport of the same verse in the Bhagavad Gita, it gives you 6 aspects of surrender. To accept things which are favorable in Krishna consciousness, reject things which are unfavorable in Krishna consciousness. Number 3, to have firm faith that Krishna will always protect me. Have no other separate interest other than Krishna. Be very humble and be very meek. These 6 things constitute surrender. And another verse of surrender is also in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. I think it's 15:5. Nirvana moha jita shanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivirta kama dvaindevi mukta shuka dukkha sabnai gachantya muda padam avyayam tat. Anybody has a Bhagavad Gita can read the purport of that verse, please. Nirvana moha, just read the purport. It's a short purport, a very powerful purport, because that purport is also teaching you how to surrender to Krishna.
Prabhuji, which
Anybody
verse?
like to volunteer?
Yes, Prabhuji, which chapter
Okay,
and which verse?
15:5. Chapter 15, verse number 5.
(15:5). Prabhuji, should I read the translation
Yeah, read the translation.
or just the 15:5 translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with the material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, bewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom. Purport. The surrendering process is described here very nicely. The first qualification is that one should not be deluded by pride, because the conditioned soul is puffed up. Think the Lord of material nature, it is very difficult for him to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should know by the cultivation of real knowledge that he is not the Lord of material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Lord. When one is free from delusion caused by pride, he can begin the process of surrender. For one who is always expecting some honor in the material world, it is not possible to surrender to the Supreme Person. Pride is due to illusion, but although one comes here, stays for a brief time, and then goes away, he has the foolish notion that he is the Lord of the world. He thus makes all things complicated, and he is always in trouble. The whole world moves under this impression. People are considering the land, this earth, to belong to human society, and they have divided the land under the false impression that they are proprietors. One has to get out of this false notion that human society is the proprietor of this world. When one is freed from such a false notion, he becomes free from all the false associations caused by the familial, social, and national affections. These faculty association binds one to the material world. After this stage, one has to develop spiritual knowledge. One has to cultivate knowledge of what is actually his own and what is actually not his own. And when one has an understanding of things as they are, he becomes free from all dual conceptions, such as happiness and distress, pleasure and pain. He becomes full in knowledge. Then it is possible for him to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Manish. So those who are writing notes, they can remember these two verses, 15.5 and 1866. These two verses actually explain surrender. So Srila Prabhupada explains further, the real remedial measure is surrender. And the best thing to do in surrender is to take the shelter of a sadhu, a pure devotee, especially who is engaged in serving Krishna, especially who is immersed in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. So Bhagavad Gita, if you go to 13.22, it says that we are put into so many different bodies, and then the way to come out is by hearing about Krishna. It's there in the purport. Sat asad jonishu. We are put into different species. Sat asat means good or bad species, auspicious, inauspicious species. But if you start hearing about Krishna, the result will be you will gain respect for Krishna, you will gain devotion for Krishna, and you become attached to Krishna. And all this is accomplished at one go simply by surrendering. So the Lord, or Krishna, he wants to reclaim jivas. He wants all of us to go back. So that's why he sends pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada himself or other Vaishnavas. And they help you from within and without. If you take shelter of pure devotees, they help you from within and without. Because if you take personally their shelter, they can help you in all ways how to surrender to Krishna. And how does Krishna do his work? He descends to this material world, which is an illusion, world full of illusion, and he performs his uncommon pastimes. And when you hear those pastimes, we become attracted to Krishna. Simply by getting attracted to Krishna, it paves the way to surrender to Krishna. And furthermore, we'll engage in the devotional service of Krishna. So by nature, we have a quest of hearing. We like to hear nice things. And when you hear Krishna's great, glorious activities, we actually enjoy them. Even those who don't believe in Krishna, like you go to America, they believe in fantastic stories like Superman and Spider-Man and things like that. People like to hear something fantastic, something extraordinary. But here, the Bhagavatam contains everything about the most super of the super person is Krishna. So when you hear about Krishna's activities, automatically your mind melts and is drawn towards that person. Now, if you don't do that, then Maya keeps punishing you. The punishment of Maya is to reform you. Reform you so that you come back to your original state and you surrender to Krishna. Now, the Mayavadis think that the Lord and Jiva are to be equal, Atma and Paramatma to be equal, but it doesn't say like that. There are many verses in Bhagavad Gita Bhagavatam which refuse this kind of understanding. This understanding is cheating people, and actually Mayavadi philosophy leads you to faithlessness. That's why throughout Bhagavatam, such kind of philosophy is condemned. In Srila Prabhupada, in many purports, Srila Prabhupada does not accept this Mayavadi understanding that Jiva and, so what do you call, the soul and super soul are one. No, There are two, not only in this, to even entire Vedas, throughout Vedas, this explanation is given that Paramatma is a bird, is a witness bird, and the jiva is the one which is eating the fruit. So they are never equal. The jiva undergoes a suffering due to karma. But since the super soul is just watching, is not doing any karma, there is no question of getting entangled. So this understanding should be removed. So Vyasdev perfectly explains, in other words, that when he was directed by Narad Muni, he actually saw Krishna eye to eye. And he saw the Lord in front of him. And also Maya was there. But the Maya means the illusory was there, but she was very shy to come in front of Krishna. That means she was hiding. Why is she hiding? Because in the presence of Krishna, she cannot appear there. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita it says, wherever there's Krishna, there's no question of dark, there's no question of Maya. Using the example of the sun, Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hayadaka, Jaha Krishna Taha Nai Maya Adhikar. Wherever there's sun, there cannot be darkness. As soon as the sun appears, the darkness has to go immediately. In the Bhagavatam, there's a beautiful verse that if you just worship Krishna, then the immediate result of worshipping Krishna is like the sun. Just like when the sun rises in the morning, then the fog also has to go. The fog will be there as far as the sun is not there. As soon as the sun rays come in, the fog has to disappear. So, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that if you don't surrender to Krishna, then the three kinds of miseries will affect you. If you go to the second paragraph, the first line, it says that it is in relationship to the demigods. That means three kinds of misery. Everybody knows the three kinds of miseries: Adi Devik, Adi Bhautik, Adhyatmik. The first line is explaining Adi Devik. The Devatas will give you trouble. Then other living entities will give you trouble. And the third trouble is created by you. So Srila Prabhupada explains further that Sukadeva Goswami would have not explained Krishna Katha if Krishna was on an equal platform with the living entities. What is the use? But Sukadeva Goswami, out of his mercy, through the agency of Vyasdev, has given us this Srimad Bhagavatam. So as you read Srimad Bhagavatam, it is a perfect remedy to cure this disease known as the illusion, or in Sanskrit we call as moha. This moha should be removed. You'll find that none of us, or most of us, if you are asked, are we free from moha? I'm sure nobody will say, yes, I'm free from moha. Even we are in moha. We get cheated daily, every day. Even when we are not at fault, we get cheated. Because this is how she works, and she actually captures us and keeps us in our hands that we can't move and here and there. We are completely under control. But if we surrender to Krishna, it relaxes the grip, and we engage in devotional service. When we become perfect in devotional service, we go to Krishna. So, the difference between Krishna and Jiva is that Krishna is the controller of Maya, and we become controlled by Maya. That is the only difference. Those who are writing can write it very clearly. That Krishna is the controller of Maya, and Jiva is controlled by Maya. If you know this fact, then we know many, many things. Now here Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy or his understandings is applicable. Now we find that in one way we are equal with the Lord constitutionally. I mean, qualitatively we are one with the Lord, but quantitatively we are different because we're very tiny, whereas the Lord is very huge. So we cannot consider ourselves to be equal with the Lord. Then that philosophy is known as Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. Simultaneous, equal with the Lord and yet different from the Lord. Sri Prabhupada gives the example of the sun. If you take the sun and the sun rays, sun has the same qualities, and also the sun rays also have the same qualities. What is the difference? The difference is the sun is very, very big, and sun rays can be very small particles. That is the difference. So in one way, both are same, and in another way, really speaking, they are not the same. And because the sun is there, the sun is there. Because Krishna is there, we are there. That we should never forget. So this example of the sun should be kept, that we never become equal with the Lord. We are always different with the Lord, simultaneously equal, at the same time different. Even Krishna is Sachidananda, and we are also Sachidananda. But the Sachidananda quantity in Krishna is massive, and us is very, very tiny. Yes, I should probably explain the purport in the second chapter of the Gita. What is the size of the soul? What is the size of the soul? Can anybody like to reply?
1/100th of the, again 100th part of the tip of the hair.
Yes, if you see the hair on the top, if you see the pen here I'm holding, like if you see the top, you divide it into 100, and then another. It means 1 to the 10,000 size, the tip of the hair. And the size of the Paramatma in the human being is 8 inches. So where is this and where is this? Is a world of difference. So there is no equality as far as the size is concerned. And as far as everything else is concerned, Krishna is always superior. So Sri Prabhupada says the perfect remedy is to hear Bhagavatam daily, by which will cure our madness and our illusion will go away. And verse also proves that actually our relationship with Krishna is not cut, but it has been forgotten. It's not that we have been cut away. It's not that we are not connected. Even when we are in Maya, it's not that we have been cut away from Krishna. There is a connection. We just have to revive it. And if you revive that relationship, especially by engaging devotional service, the foremost process is by hearing about Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'll give you one verse, very beautiful verse. In the 13th chapter of the Gita, I think it's 22, if I'm not wrong. I'll read the verse for you. If you go to 13:22, the translation is
The living entity. So do you want me to read the translation?
yeah.
13:20.
22.
Translation. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the 3 modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus, he meets with good and evil among various species.
So we get different species because of what we call being away from Krishna. But this process, if you go to the purport, Mataji, if you have the purport, just go to the same verse, the purport, almost the last paragraph.
Purport. How he is put into such different bodies is explained here. It is due to the association with different modes of nature. One has to rise, therefore, above the 3 material modes and become situated in the transcendental position. That is called Krishna Consciousness. Unless one is situated in Krishna Consciousness, his material consciousness will oblige him to transfer from one body to another because he has material desires since time immemorial. But he has to change that conception. That change can be affected only by hearing from authoritative sources. The best example is here. Arjuna is hearing the science of God from Krishna. The living entity, if he submits to this hearing process, will lose his long cherished desire to dominate material nature. And gradually and proportionately, as he reduces his long desire to dominate, he comes to enjoy spiritual. In a Vedic mantra, it is said that as he becomes learned in association with Supreme Personality of Godhead, he proportionately relishes his eternal blissful life. Hare
Also,
Krishna.
Mother, you read 1826. 1826. Only the verse, yeah?
Only the verse. Mukta Sango.
Yeah, yeah.
Mukta
18,
Sang
no, the
1826.
translation, yeah.
One who performs his duty without association with the modes of
No.
material.
Oh, that's not the verse. Is it the one? 1826.
1826.
Is it the one?
Yes, Mukta Sango Naham.
Just a minute. I'm mistaken then. Sorry, this is not the one. Anyway, the verse, I can't exactly remember the verse number. The verse is as follows. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. So, this is the verse, I can't exactly remember the verse number, chapter number, but this verse I have. So, even if you are not learned, if you just start hearing about, if you have no knowledge about Krishna, if you start hearing, then at once you'll be attracted towards Krishna. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also recommends that if you can't assimilate philosophy and knowledge, you simply hear the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare. You'll get the same results. So either you hear the Maha Mantra or you hear the Krishna conscious philosophy. The result you're going to get the same. So in this way, the whole purport is trying to explain to us why we are suffering is to be due to being put into this material world where we become illusion. And the illusion energy is so strong, then it gives you so much trouble. And the remedial measure is to surrender to Krishna. And if you surrender to Krishna, especially by engaging in devotional service, the 9 limbs of it, and the foremost is the most powerful, hearing, Shravanam. Even the Bhagavatam says, we already done that, was Shinvatam Sukata Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtanam, Hridayosi hi Abhadrani, Vidunati Shruti Sruhit Satam. Krishna is in the heart of everyone, is our well-wisher. If you start hearing about him, then he removes all the inauspicious things from our heart and we become happy. Hare Krishna. Time is up. If you like to ask any questions.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you very much for today's class, and thank you for taking us back to Bhagavad Gita. We've read it once, but we forget. So it is good that you are quoting texts and making us read so that we understand, we remember what we have read. Madhrupa Mataji, do you have a question?
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, kindly ask your question.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So this illusory energy is external energy, like it's Maya. So isn't she the devotee of Lord, or how does she surrender to the Lord?
She is not just a devotee, she's even the servant of the Lord. But she does the work on behalf of Krishna. By those who don't want to surrender to Krishna, she suffers. She actually gives them trouble one by one. And she's also helped by the demigods, other living entities. And in this way, she creates a lot of, miserable time in our life. So this is how Maya works. She's working. That's why it says, Devi esa guna mama mai. Mama mai, she's my energy, Krishna says. It's just like Srila Prabhupada uses the example of police force. Why is police force necessary to run a city? Because there'll always be criminals. And when they disobey, the police force will control. So Maya is the police force of Krishna. And another experience is that if you fool around with Maya, then she'll bind you with shackles. I don't know if you know shackles. Shackles means
Yeah.
chain. Yeah, shackles means, and the shackles are represented in the form of illusory energy, especially by sex life. Maithuna agra. Maithuna agra means a person will only think of sex. That means it's completely in Maya. Okay, Mataji?
Yes.
And the highest kind of Maya is that he thinks that now he has become God. That is the extreme of Maya. Okay?
So that is also, sorry, so that is also a position given to some soul, or
Yes,
it's
yes.
a permanent post like that?
No, it's just like there are many demigods. One of them is also Maya, Maya Devi.
Oh.
She is also, when she goes to meet Krishna, she's just like any other Devi. There is an explanation. I can't remember the verse number, but there is an explanation. When Maya comes to see Krishna, she also stands with the folded hands. And Krishna also, like, greets her. So she's an agent of Krishna, working on behalf of Krishna. She's a part of Krishna's government. Okay?
Okay, Hare Krishna, yeah.
I think it's there in the third canto, but I can't quote the verse number. It's gone off my mind. Where the explanation of how Maya comes to see Krishna is explained.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I have a question. Prabhuji, so when people are in Maya, they're enjoying themselves. I mean, it is noted that nothing happens to them, nothing bad happens to them. But the moment you take bhakti or Krishna consciousness or start devotional service, Maya now starts working on you. So is that true, Prabhuji? Because whenever I mention, oh, I'm now Hare Krishna, I'm trying to be a Hare Krishna devotee, they said, oh, now you're gone. Bad luck will come to you. So I don't believe it, but I'm just asking, is that Maya will start working when you are not under her control?
No, it's not like that. When you take up devotional service, you actually become aware of Maya. When you're not in Krishna consciousness, you are not aware of Maya. So when she was troubling you, you didn't know. But when you engage in devotional service, you know, oh, she's troubling me. And that's why we become very careful. I'll give you one conversation with Prabhupada. When this is way back in America, in the very much in the beginning, almost 68, 69, Sri Prabhupada is seated with his devotees. And Prabhupada was very proud of his devotees. He was very happy. Prabhupada was like a real father to them. And Prabhupada says, you Western devotees have all good qualities except one bad quality. What is that bad quality? Does anybody want to try which is one bad quality? Prabhupada mentions in the Westerners. Okay, I'll reply. I'll continue. He says, the only bad quality among you Western devotees is that you are not scared of Maya. Maya can grip you anytime and bring you down. So also we have a lesson to learn that once we engage in devotional service, be careful of Maya. And what is the proof that you are in Maya? You may be wearing a nice sari or a dhoti or a kurta with nice tilak and sikha. That doesn't still mean that you are not in Maya. Maya means if you cannot chant your rounds properly, if you do not chant nicely, or you have given up chanting, it means you are in Maya. First proof. Second is the taste for Krishna consciousness is gone. That means you won't attend any classes. You don't like Krishna Katha anymore. And the third one is you hate the sight of devotees. You may think, I am the best devotee. These are all useless devotees. That is a sign of Maya. There are many examples. These are three prime. So to be very careful in devotional service, never underlook on any devotee, number one. Number two, never miss Krishna Katha, means hearing Bhagavatam, never miss it. And third one is, whether you like to chant or you don't like to chant, don't stop chanting. Because today she's a very small girl. and she sent a message that you have told us that whether you like to chant or not to chant. I didn't feel like chanting today, but I still chanted today. So that is a good understanding. Whether you like or you don't like, whether your beads are rolling down or not, you have to chant and make sure your beads are going on your fingers. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. The result is you are obeying the instruction of the Shastras. And when you obey Dharma, the rules and regulations of Dharma, then Dharma has to protect you. Like the Pandavas are protected by Krishna. Why? Because they obeyed the Dharma. They abided all the rules and regulations of the principles of Dharma. On the other hand, Duryodhana did not obey, and that's why he suffered. Hare Krishna. Does it answer your question, Mataji?
Yes,
So don't think
Prabhuji.
that we are, when we take up devotional, many miseries will come. Yeah, there's one aspect which I'll disclose to you. When you engage in devotional service, especially seriously, you'll find so many miseries coming. Why? The answer is Krishna wants you to go back home this very life. So all the reactions of past will all come at the same time. And they'll come like a slap when you're not ready for it. So in this way, when he actually punishes you, anyone who is a pure devotee actually enjoys it. He said, yes, Krishna is molding me, Krishna is showing me the path, and Krishna is bringing me closer to him. Because it's only in difficulties we become very close to Krishna. So that aspect is also correct. That if you think when you take up devotional, all the problems will come. It is true. Because your real friends will all go away. Then all your social life will go away. Number 3, maybe your own family will not like you. You said, all the time he's chanting, all the time he's busy in his temple. What kind of, he's not with us anymore. He or she, whoever it is. I myself remember way back in 79, my own friends deserted me. They say, oh, now we have changed. We can't live with you. You become a different person. So it is right that all the materialism will go away and the spiritualism will come in. And when the spiritualism will come, you'll see things as they are. And you can recognize Maya. Formerly, you could not recognize Maya when you're not in Krishna consciousness. But when you come in Krishna consciousness, you will recognize this is Maya. I am being cheated. So I should be away from this person. I should not do this thing. I should not stay away from this object. This is the way she works. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. It has really helped me. Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? There are no more questions or comments. I'll hand over to Prabhuji.
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes, Lakshmi Mataji, welcome.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. I have a couple of questions to Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. My first question is maybe a follow-up question of Ketila Mataji's question actually. So when I'm left in somebody's home for a treatment, right? Because I am conditioned now, so I have to come out of it. So I am left under someone's home, and I am turning towards Krishna. I am getting treated. I am getting purified. Right. So that time Maya should help me, right? But instead, why she is giving more tests and more turns, twists and turns to take me, trying to give up, like almost I should turn away from Krishna and then again bring it. Why that testing being done? Is there any particular reason for that? Because she should help me. Yeah, you are on the right way. Come on, go, right? But why instead it's the other way around of we are getting trembled of, okay, maybe I'm in the wrong direction. Let me turn over. Why those tests? I think my question is a bit clear. Hare Krishna.
Yes, your question is quite clear and it's a nice question. Now you note as you advance in Krishna consciousness, more you go closer to Krishna, the more Maya will attack you. And she gives you so much trouble that they may come a kind of a junction. Should I take the part of Maya or should I go to Krishna? And we all go through that, especially in a painful situation. I don't know what kind of treatment you're going through, but let's say you're undergoing painful situation. And sometimes you undergo so much pain that you think that why so much pain? Why Krishna is not helping you? But Krishna is helping you. But once you come out of it, you be better than what you were before. I can assure you that. What health or whatever position you had, whatever your mentality was, you become much, much better. You become much, much stronger. And this is how you become molded. Molded, I think you understand the meaning of getting molded. Krishna is actually shaping you in every possible way that you don't forget him. And Krishna puts you in a very helpless condition that you raise your hands and you look for Krishna. That is the meaning. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much. I'm not struggling now because I believe.
Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, I believe that whatever he does will be good for me. So I'm relying on that part and I'm going. But I had a work break for 8 months and now I resumed my work. So when I read all the materialistic papers and documents, just sometimes my tears flow out. Like I was reading Prabhupada books. It was so enriching. I get the energy from there. This is so dumb that I'm reading. Why Krishna has put into this kind of job. Then again, I gear up myself saying, okay, if I earn, I will help all the devotees. That is what Krishna wants me to do. So I'm bringing up, encouraging myself or motivating myself in that way. But I just want to know why Maya, instead of boosting us, okay, come on, you engage in more devotional work, more Prabhupada books and more shlokas and more satsang, right? Instead of that, now I am collaborating with more materialistic people with more materialistic view that is required to carry on the work. I just want to clarify and thank you so much for your answer, Prabhu.
Well, the choice is yours, whether you want to slip away to the materialistic people or you want to stay with your devotional service. It is also a test again. Sometimes circumstances force you to go to work or something, and you may have to do things which are not Krishna conscious. Like you said, you are reading things, papers or news, whatever it is. And formally, you read Prabhupada's books. So this thing will be only for a short time. It will go away. And again, you'll be reinstated in your original Krishna conscious life. So don't think like that. I can give you one explanation given by one devotee. He stays from Nairobi very far, almost 15 kilometers away. He can only come to temple on Sundays only morning, and he makes sure he never fails to come. Now, once you're saying that, of course, he's a devotee, he's an initiated devotee for many, many years, since 83. So he told me that I've seen devotees staying in the temple, and yet their mind is far away from the temple. And there are people who are very far away from the temple, but their mind is in the temple. So who is better? Anyone whose mind is in Krishna is better. Though you may be in an environment, but you are still thinking of Krishna, it means you are still properly situated. Does it answer your question?
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhu. It's really soothing my heart. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna. And I have another question. Actually, yesterday I was not in the class, but I heard the video. So in 1.7.4, after Vyasa meditate, he's seeing the Lord, absolute truth. And it's mentioned he sees the God along with external energy. So when I read something, obviously I'm in material mode. So I tries to visualize, oh, Vyasadeva is meditating and Krishna is appearing. With external energy means, how should I understand in that sense? Hare Krishna.
Now, when Vyasadeva's vision became pure, he could see Krishna and also he could see Maya. Both he could see at the same time. I think it's just the previous verse. Was it the one?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, in the previous verse. That means, and what was Maya doing? She was hiding from Krishna. Remember that. She had no strength to come in front of Krishna. She's hiding behind. So it means if you give up Krishna, then Maya is there to grab you. But if you hold on to Krishna, Maya cannot do anything to you. That is the meaning of the verse. And who saw it? Only Vyasadeva saw it. We cannot see like that. But if we engage, as we progress in devotional service, then we can also see two things working at the same time. Krishna working and also Maya working. Take a simple example. You can see this white tissue in my hand, and you can see the black form. Now, if this is a black color, this is a white color. If you don't know anything about colors, you may say, oh, it's all the same. But if you know the color, then this is black, this is white. Now, in the same way, if you compare bright and if you see darkness, on the edge of the brightness, there is darkness. Always. Wherever there's light, there cannot be darkness. But at the edge, there is darkness. That means the darkness is far away from the bright. You can see this even by taking a torch. Put on a torch and put it up on the ceiling. Switch off the lights. You can see the ring of the light or whatever the design of the light. But on the side, it will be all dark. This is the way it can be explained. That Krishna is there, along the Maya is also there. But for the devotees, Maya is relaxed. But for the non-devotees, Maya is in full force. That's the difference.
Thank you so
Is it
much,
okay?
Prabhu, for the clarification. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Dandavad.
Hare Krishna, we have exhausted our time. I'll hand over to kindly close the session. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for your nice class. It is very easy, clearly understood everyone. So I request all the devotees, please unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra. For glorification of His Grace Rukma Prabhuji, please join. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Grace Rukma Prabhu ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, everybody.